to order. Thank you, and so we'll start with you, our great leader from Columbus, Georgia.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm certainly glad to be before this very worthwhile effort. My name is Ed Harbison. I'm the senator for the 15th Senatorial District, including Columbus and 6 other counties in southwest Georgia.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm State Senator Fenika Miller from southwest Georgia, and I have 11 counties in that kind of border Albany, Georgia, which is my largest county, and most of them are they're not small at all. Geographically, they are huge, but they're, in population-wise, they're extremely small and very rural. But I'm glad to be with you guys this morning. Thank you. Thank you, Senator James.
Thank you very much, Senators. We also have joining us on the Zoom, Senator Emmanuel Jones, who is the secretary of this committee, and you heard from Senator Freddie Power Sims, who is the vice chair. We are going to, before we begin our hearing, which is for H.R. 1319, a U.S. bill that was sponsored by Representative John Yarmuck of Kentucky. It's the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And this is a hearing only. But before we begin, we have a little business that the committee must do before we proceed. So, senators, members, you have had an opportunity to look at the rules of the 2021-22 legislative session, and we do have a quorum of 3, and I make 4 because we are counting Senator Jones, who is on Zoom right now. So at this point, I need a hello, how you doing?
I move that the rules be accepted for 2021-22 for this committee.
It's been moved and second, and there are no questions. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Emmanuel Jones didn't oppose, right? No. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We have a very, very important topic that we are going to have discussed here this morning. And we're going to start out with me doing an overview and then a PowerPoint by Mr. W. Calvin Anderson. And Sharon Hill may come in and join us. She is having transportation issues right now on this beautiful rainy day. So on March the 11th of 2021, the 6th COVID-19 relief bill was signed into law by President Biden. The American Rescue Plan provides $1.9 trillion in national assistance, and it is estimated that Georgia will receive $17.4 billion. Additional support will be provided from tax credits and business aid. The American Rescue Plan will deliver $350 billion for eligible state, local, territorial, and tribal governments to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and bring back jobs. And that's what we need right now, jobs, jobs, jobs. This rescue plan is launching due to the much-needed relief to support economic stabilization, to address public health challenges, to replace lost revenue, to support COVID-19 response efforts. So today, I will be giving you a brief summary of where these funds will be allocated and how they will benefit our great people in Georgia. The largest allotment is allocated to state fiscal relief funding for expenses incurred through December 31st. It will go all the way to December 31st, 2024. So Georgia's allotment is estimated to be $4.7 billion. These funds may be used in response to COVID-19 or any negative impacts that this pandemic has brought about. Premium pay for essential workers, lost revenues, and infrastructure are included in that fund. Local fiscal relief funds are also allocated for expenses incurred through December 31st of 2024. Georgia allotment is estimated to be $3.5 billion. These funds will be allocated to cities with a population of 50,000 or more and follows the Community Development Block Grant formula. Cities with a population less than 50,000 will receive an allotment as well on a different formula. The state will be responsible for dispersing funds to non-essential units, which, while the larger population communities will receive funds directly from the Treasury. Counties will receive allotments based on the population size. Consolidated city-county governments will receive both the city and county allotments. The Capital Project Fund allotment is estimated at $262 million. Now, this fund is available to carry out projects and also to support education, work, health monitoring during the COVID-19. The Unemployment Insurance Extension Implementation Fund will extend unemployment benefits for the pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. For the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Programs through September 6th of 2021. The federal pandemic unemployment compensation will remain a $300 weekly supplement for weeks ending January 2nd of 2021 through September 6th of 2021. The Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund will total an estimate of $4.2 billion. Local education agencies will be allotted at least 90% of the funds allocated to the state, and they must reserve 20% to address learning loss. The Georgia Department of Education may use 10% of the allotted funds and reserve 5% for learning loss. 1% of the total amount of grant funds for summer enrichment programs and 0.5% for grant funds are awarded to the state for administration. Additional funds are allocated to the state emergency assistant to non-public schools to provide services that enroll a significant percentage of low-income students. The Child Care Development Block Grant and Child Care Stabilization grants were allocated an estimate of $697 million. These grants assist with child care for essential workers and for child care stabilization. The Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund supports the University of Georgia Board of Regents, and the Technical College Systems of Georgia, and has been allocated an estimate of $949 million and $260 million for the TCSG. 50% of these allocated funds must be reserved for emergency financial aid grants to students. Public health assistance has been allocated $95 million to plan, promote, prepare, distribute, and to track COVID-19 vaccinations. And an additional $319 million is available for testing and $143 million for vaccine distribution, testing, contact tracking, equipment, staff, infrastructure, and education and outreach. Now, I'm talking about Georgia, and all of this is referring to Georgia. And we thank Senator Lester Jackson for joining us. Thank you very much, Senator.
Madam Chair, I apologize for being late. The traffic is kind of bad between here and Savannah, Georgia.
Well, we are so happy that you're here. I'm going to wrap up now with my overview, and at that point, we will begin the hearing from that point. I was given an overview so that you will know what we are discussing and you will have facts. And so we'll begin in just a second, because I want to talk about also the Department of Behavior, Health, and Development Disability Funding. And I'm very enthused about the fact that they are getting money, because usually those who have mental challenges are not included. And I'm proud to serve on the governor's Mental Health Commission, and I'm assigned to the subcommittee on behavior health among children and adolescents. So the Department of Behavior Health and Development Disability Funding was allocated an estimated $45.5 million for the mental health block grant and $46 million for substance abuse block grant that must be spent by September the 30th of 2025. Now, other provisions, additional provisions with estimates are $562 million for emergency rental assistance, $12.3 million for emergency food and shelter programs, $13.2 million for the WIC cash value vouchers, additional supplement nutrition assistant programs, which is SNAP, benefits are also available. The transit assistant for urbanization areas, locals are $343.6 million, and non-urbanized areas are $1.6 million. Additional provisions for enhanced mobility of seniors and persons with disabilities and funding, $4.3 million for public libraries, $0.9 million for the state art agencies. That's not enough, but that's what they have given them. And $1.1 million for state councils distributed to states and regional arts organizations. You can request these funds through the Treasury submission portal. And I encourage everyone that may need aid to look more into how they can be assisted through the much-needed American Rescue Plan. At this time, we are going to begin our public hearing. And the public hearing, before we do that, do we have any of our senators who would like to make a brief statement before or do you want to make it after we have heard the hearing?
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, I have another engagement Madam Chair, if I may have another engagement at 11.
So you want to make
Right,
yours
15,
now?
right, but this is so, the American Rescue Plan is so vitally important, not just to your committee, but it's so vitally important to all of America, especially our urban areas, and I include Albany, Georgia as part of being urban, when it comes to protecting our schools, when it comes to protecting needed child care, when it comes to unemployment and access to health care, whether it's supporting hospitals or mentally health, we need this. We need this. So this hearing is vitally important. So I'm just proud to be a part of it. I'd like to thank the senator from the 12th for taking time out of her busy schedule to drive up from Albany, Georgia, and my good friend, the senator from Muskogee County, to take time out to take part and join us in this discussion. We come from all parts of Georgia, but we know that this is to help. If we should let the community know about this, it helps the least of us, so we can continue to not only survive but thrive. So thank you, Madam Chair, for putting this together.
And thank you very much for driving all the way from Savannah, Georgia, to be with us this morning. And we always appreciate all of your input. Yes, Senator Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too have another engagement in Albany this afternoon, so I'll have to get back on the road real soon. But this is such an important meeting, and I'm so glad that you decided to bring communities together so we can talk about this. Lately, we hear so many negatives in the news, and especially along the lines of unemployment, and people are being demonized for not wanting to work. There's always going to be an element of individuals anywhere you go that refuses to follow protocol or follow the rules. But for individuals that have not done their jobs, to talk about those individuals is a very sad state of affairs. There is no playbook for this pandemic. There was no playbook.
No.
Everything we're doing is we're trying to make sure that our country remains viable economically, it remains healthy, and on and on and on. So when we hear a lot of the noise from the background, from elected officials mostly, it's very unfair to those individuals that have had to stay home with their families because they could not go to work, and they are having to receive assistance from the government. Well, sometimes we get hypocritical. We say, well, we need help, so we give people help, and then they say, well, that's too much help, you know.
Exactly.
So the hypocrisy of it is very, very unsettling. And I'm so glad that you're here to talk about why these monies are important. The only thing that I ask is that we have good oversight. We don't want to throw money out there and people are misusing it and abusing what belongs to those individuals that have worked so hard to keep their families stable, healthy, and safe. So that's what I wanted to say before I leave. Thank you so
And I
much.
thank you, and I hope you stay a little bit longer to hear at least one or two of the people who
I'll
have
try.
come from
Yes,
so
ma'am.
far, because I'm so proud that we have people who have come from all over Georgia. And also, there are how many do we have on? We have many on the Zoom also. And then we're streaming today, and we have people that we can't even count who are watching us as we stream this meeting. So we're going to begin. Thank you very much. Did you want to wait until afterwards, right?
No.
Senator Harbison, thank you so much. You're going to stay with me, right?
All right, I'll be here.
You'll stay with me. Thank you. I would like to introduce Mr. W. Calvin Anderson, who will, at this point, give a PowerPoint outlining H.R. 1319. So, and then afterwards, immediately afterwards, we would have the Executive Order 13985, a reading and a summary by Mr. Mark Tate. So we'll go in that order.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a great pleasure to be with you and to celebrate the Interstate, the Committee on Interstate Cooperation and the significance of it. Like Senator Sims said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime rescue response to a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. COVID-19 was a novel virus that was both deadly and devastating. And through no fault of the citizenry or the state leaders or the national government, we were impacted by this pandemic and epidemic. And now the state of Georgia, which is not a sandbox type of child state, is about to show a model of how we deal with cooperation in terms of intergovernment, how we deal with equity in terms of sharing the responsibility of healing on behalf of all of the citizenry, and leadership. And there are only a few mechanisms within state government. Governor Brian Kemp appointed Senator Donzella James to chair the Committee on Interstate Cooperation. And it not only provides liaison between government leaders and constituencies, but also shares the model that Georgia will build for best practices between other states in the United States of America as we deal with a response to this pandemic and this epidemic and this repair of our people and our fiscal health. All right, so this is the Georgia Senate Committee on Interstate Cooperation, and this is our hearing. Okay. All right, as I said, what is the Interstate Cooperation Committee going to do? It's going to support governing and allocation officials to communicate with locally funded counties, cities, agencies, and outreach to constituencies. So that's a big job. But in common sense, since this has never happened before in our lifetime, there's going to need to be fabric in between the counties, the cities, the leaders, and the citizenry. We're already getting calls from the citizenry in terms of their needs and what is attached fiscally to those needs. Okay. The American Rescue Plan Act is the government's fiscal response to the impacts of the deadly and devastating corona pandemic as a novel virus. And basically, as we know, governments, families, businesses, wage earners, schools, colleges, healthcare workers, and other first responders have been impacted. There's no prior infrastructure or roadmap for this, so therefore, this committee is vital as a liaison to all the needs and all the communication clearinghouse information. Now, it's important to look at the bottom of this slide. Georgia is a world-class progressive state helping to determine America's future. We say in the office that Georgia is the epicenter of America because we will be determining the future. In this situation, we're talking about the rescue plan, all right? How we deal with it in terms of equity, how we deal with it in terms of our resources, our leadership, and all of that is on the line. And like I said earlier, we're not a sandbox, playing in the sandbox type of state. We have a history in terms of being progressive. Georgia's number 2 in terms of agriculture as a provider in the United States. We just did something amazing. We dredged the port of Savannah to increase the state commerce and workforce opportunities. And that included beefing up and expanding the highway system and the byways so that the trucks can now deliver goods because of what happened in Panama in terms of goods and services to our needy citizenry. I want to say, and jumping a little bit ahead, when we look at the citizenry of Georgia, the citizenry of Georgia is world class. We were invited to a world class progressive state the capital is known as the capital of the South. Georgia is also known as the home of the 20th century civil rights movement. It's also known as where we held the world-class Olympics in 1996 and invited the international population to come and live. We have communities that are here looking for the lifestyle and the amenities, that befit a world-class progressive state, and not just one that certainly doesn't know in a time of need. We have the busiest airport in the world. It's a mecca for black businesses. We have award-winning magazine awards in terms of and we've been invited since 1996 at the very least. And I mean national and international, people have migrated here for our services and our lifestyle. So therefore, we're model, and when it comes to interstate cooperation, we'll have something to bring to the table to share with any other state, because this is the Interstate Cooperation Committee. All right. As we said, Senator James was appointed by Governor Kemp, and we have progressive models, and we're going to be dealing with problem solving. We're going to be dealing with constituency advocate. We're going to basically share from our office and from the committee's offices across the state, everything that we're hearing from various constituencies in terms of their needs, in terms of the impact dollars that they're about to get, in terms of the timelines of those dollars from now to 2024, in a 21st century progressive way. As you've met earlier in terms of districts, Senator James is the chairperson, Senator Sims is the vice chair, Senator Jones is the secretary, Senator Harbison is a member, and Senator Jordan is also a member. They're representative across the state. Where are we going with this? I've tried to give you a perspective of it. Today, we're dealing the roundtable hearing of the Interstate Cooperation and Rescue Act. After this, we're going to be utilizing the membership constituencies and the leadership heads up in this in our effort, because, as we said, there is no national plan prior or roadmap that we've had to use. So the members will be providing leadership throughout the state, and we'll be fielding all kinds of inputs from various constituencies, advocacies, agencies, and other areas. So today we have the hearing. There'll be an Ask Georgia series. Georgia, the epicenter, is part of our perspective and theme, but that's Georgia, the epicenter of progress, not controversy when it comes to the American Rescue. We'll have a virtual network with introductions. May the 31st, we'll be developing accountability, a public information and education and support apparatus, which will have virtual campaigns and tours. But the Ask for Georgia is how the leadership will, is already allocated funds, but the Ask for Georgia will be some of the feedback from the government leaders about those funds, whether they're adequate or not, and then how do we fill bridge the breach in terms of other things, along with those allotments. It's never been done before. We have to be patient with the federal government. The statewide, they have to be patient with our government leaders, and we're going to need a lot of liaison. On September the 6th, we'll have a mega tour in terms of accountability. So the leaders will be traveling from Labor Day, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and meeting with constituencies, and they'll have the help of the Interstate Cooperation Committee. On October the 27th, there'll be an accountability report to hear from the people in districts on the outcomes of the rescue plan. On November the 10th, we'll have the end of the year interstate cooperation panel on the success and other feedback information for constituency outreach and delivery. This is a huge undertaking, and everyone here, because you've taken the time out this morning, understands the seriousness of it and the uncharted territory, because you have a heart for Georgia, and you have a heart for leadership, and you have a heart for the constituencies that have been impacted through no fault of their own from this novel virus that now the federal government has responded to, and it has landed in our laps, and we now take on a commitment to heal Georgia in a progressive way. Okay. Georgia is the epicenter with information resources. Everybody knows that 21st century information rules, data rules. But a heart and a compassion for the people through no fault of their own will rule way above that. This is an overview of the fact that it's showing you an oversight from the U.S. Oversight Committee. We're fortunate enough to have Congressman Hank Johnson as a member of that. So therefore, I'm not going to read all of this, but we're in touch with his office, and this is his final statement on the passage. So that this is an overview of the act. Okay. Okay, the next slide will tell you what happened in terms of, this is still the generic overview of information in terms of allocation. You've heard that from the senator, so there's no need. This is the Fed side of it. We heard what was going to happen on the state side of it from the senator. So we've been working with Hank Johnson's office, Congressman Johnson's office, so that we do have more information about what is allotted Georgia directly. This was just his example of of the overview. The next slide gives us basically the same type of information you just heard from the senator. This tells you, it gives you an idea in terms of millions of dollars, what's allocated on behalf of the counties. We'll have that breakdown also for each Senate district and all the districts. But this just gives you an overview of the type of information that was initially released by Congressman Johnson.
Excuse me. Also, some of the other Senate congresspersons have not given us their information and their breakdown, but this committee will try to get that information within the next week. So if you contact our office, we'll be able to provide it to you.
Certainly.
And we're going to wrap up.
Okay. In the wisdom of Senator James, she's provided us in her office to be a government leadership engagement and constituency outreach and constituency development, because the apparatus is so large that we will need a new type of infrastructure. Okay, this is just saying that there is a buy-in and a partnership with the Georgia Municipal Association, which will have all of the breakdown from the counties and the cities in the state. So again, we have to look at it. Georgia is at the epicenter. It's been here historically from the turn of the 20th century, and we're here again. And this is a hallmark moment in terms of response to a novel virus that's once in a lifetime. So we have to have compassion for all of our citizenry, and we also have to have respect and understanding for our leadership that have a Herculean task before them, meeting the demand and the needs after such devastation and deadly impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the information. At the end, if you have any questions, start writing them down for us. But do know that this will be, you will be able to pull this this whole meeting up and get this information. If you're not taking notes, you'll be able to pull it up on, what is it, Andrew? How can they access it later? It'll be on the Senate, the state of Georgia, and then go to the Senate, and then it'll be on the Senate website. So you'll be able to pull it up. And a lot of you are out here now, but we didn't do introductions, and time is moving fast, so we'll just do a quick introduction with your name and what you represent, starting here.
Reverend Pharrell Malone, Fresh Communities, Macedonia Baptist Church, from the great metropolis of Waycross, Georgia.
He came all the way from Waycross for you today. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Donna?
Donna Griffin, Ashanti Films, Atlanta, Georgia.
And introduce your,
And Antonio Moses.
thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sandra Black, Imigo Public Relations of
Yes.
Greater Atlantic
Wonderful.
Region.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Grandmaster Frederick McHenry. I represent the Masonic United Nations and also the state of Georgia for all Masons around the country.
Amen. Amen. Yes. You see you got a hand clap up here
I'm
from
sorry, I'm
a
sorry.
#1 Mason. And I'm Eastern Star, so that's why I'm taking a minute to also acknowledge you. And thank you, you're the highest ranking
Mason in the world.
agent in the world. And we're so happy to have you. And you're from right here in Georgia, okay? And we have our staff member,
Beth Vaughn from Senate Research.
Amen.
okay?
Marquis Tate, President and CEO of the Atlanta Black Chambers.
Thank you.
Alita Thornton, Athens, Georgia, Commissioner for District 9.
Thank you so much for coming all the way here from
Shane
Atlanta.
Blackwell, Northeast Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce President.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and,
Vince Wiegand, Legislative Counsel's Office.
yes,
Here, thank you.
okay.
Andrew Allison, Senate Press Office.
Shaken Bridges, Senate Press Office.
Well, we welcome everyone, and we thank everyone for making the sacrifice to come here today and listen to this important information, but also know that it's not just a hearing. Afterwards, we are going to actually work on moving forward and making sure, as Senator Sims said, the accountability is in place. So it's for transparency and accountability today. I'm so happy to have the chairman of the Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Marquis Tate, with us. Will you give us, how long will your presentation take? 3 minutes. Okay, wonderful. Please come forward.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and distinguished committee members. I definitely appreciate you allowing me to speak at this great committee hearing on the American Rescue Plan. My name is Marquis Tate, President and CEO of the Atlanta Black Chambers and President of the Advancing Black Businesses PAC. Our organizations advocate for businesses across the state of Georgia through public policy, and we help create opportunities for our black businesses to thrive, which ultimately enhances the black community. Advancing Black Businesses PAC received bipartisan support in a House Resolution 250 to help advance Black Business PAC, led by Representative Micah Gravely, with the support of Representative Kavin Smyrie, amongst many other supporters across the aisle. I would like to mention the support of several black chambers across, who you heard from Shane Blackwell, who is with the Northeast Black Chamber of Commerce. We have the Greater Savannah Black Chamber of Commerce that are in support, and most of these presidents and members are listening on Zoom right now. So I have a lot of wind behind my back as I speak on behalf of the American Rescue Plan. But to mention a few other organizations, the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce, the Albany Business League, the Making Black Pages, and we have Reverend Malone, who actually meets with our black chambers across the state in the South Georgia area on a weekly basis. We just finished our Southeastern Regional Roundtable call, led by Michael Hill and Larry Holman, where black chambers meet on a weekly basis now, discussing the American Rescue Plan and other stimulus dollars that are coming down from the federal government. But what I want to speak on very, very briefly, Madam Chairwoman, is the executive order 13985, which is executive order on, and that's a presidential executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. I want to read, kind of paraphrase and read by, in quotes, some of the actual executive order. To start out, let's see, where am I? Through the federal government, equal opportunity is the bedrock of American democracy, and our diversity is one of our country's greatest strengths. But too far, many American dreams remain out of reach, entrenched in disparities. Our laws and policies, and in our public and private institutions, have often denied that equal opportunity to individuals and communities. Our country faces converging economic, health, and climate crises that expose and exacerbated inequalities, while the historic movement for justice has highlighted the unbearable human costs of community growth issues. Our nation deserves an ambiguous whole of government equity agenda that matches the scale of opportunities and challenges that we face. By advancing equity across the federal government, we create opportunities for the improvement of communities that have been historically underserved, which benefits everyone. For example, an analyst shows that closing the racial gaps in wages, housing credit, lending opportunities across to higher education would amount to an additional $5 trillion. That's $5 trillion in gross domestic product in the American economy over the next 5 years. As the stimulus dollars from the American Rescue Plan come down to the state of Georgia, the executive orders have several sections, just to mention a few. Role of the Domestic Policy Council, identifying methods to access equity, allocating federal resources to advance fairness and opportunity, promoting equitable delivery of government benefits and equitable opportunities, engagement with members of underserved communities, and establishing equitable data working group. I strongly suggest that we understand what Executive Order 13985 calls for racial equity and how federal dollars are used coming down to the state of Georgia. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee members.
Thank you. And tell us again, President Biden's executive order number in case we want to look it up.
That is Executive Order 13985. 13985.
Thank you very much. So it was very appropriate for you to come and offer that, representing the Black Chamber of Commerce, so that we can make sure that the dollars and the funding will go in all communities. So thank you very much. And you saw that you need to.
I just want to mention something.
Yes.
The gentleman spoke about wage gaps. We also need to look at hiring gaps, and especially with state and federal dollars. If you look at the amount of appropriations that we appropriate annually from the state and the feds, we need to dig through the weeds to see how many blacks are hired in certain agencies, okay? Do they have leadership roles in these agencies? And I find in my community there is a disproportionate number of workers. So that is something that I seldom hear us talk about. But as a Black Chamber of Commerce, this is something we truly need to take a look at, because there are huge amounts, enormous amounts of dollars that are put into local, state, and federal agencies where we are left out of the hiring process. And sometimes we're hired, but we're the first ones to be let go. So you never reach any kind of leadership pinnacle. So we need to take a look at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Senator Harbison?
To add to that, I thank my colleague from the 12th. It is very true, her comments regarding the hiring, and it has been a project of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, as well as members of the Senate and House who tried over the years to make sure that we hit a certain target goal. But when you bring up the comments about targets and things like that, we get into the weeds and we get drowned or get suffocated in the weeds and we can't get out of there or agree on a certain number of goals, and words like goals and targets and things like that happen, and we get bogged down and we end up with nothing. So I would encourage us to adhere to the words of the senator from the 12th and make sure we look at that and apply those principles of being having some kind of equality when we're talking about hiring, because there are certain agencies that this is solely a need to be looked at in the state of Georgia. So I'm appreciative of your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator. And Mr. W. Calvin Anderson wanted to make a statement.
I wanted to ask anyone that does a presentation, please forward a copy of it for the file in Word document with Mr. Hill. So your presentation, send us a copy of it, please.
Okay, that's Marquis.
Anybody that does.
Thank you very much. At this time, we have Mr. Michael Hill, the Southern Regional Roundtable, who had to join us on Zoom right now. And so we thank you very much, Mr. Hill, for being here. And we look forward to hearing your presentation. Gasoline stations don't have very much gas right now. And there are people who are not here, who intended to be here, that could not get their gasoline in order to get here. So they are joining us by Zoom. And Mr. Hill, thank you very much for being here. You're on mute. Take yourself.
I said I had the gasoline, I just didn't get the keys. We got digital learning.
All right.
Can I share my screen?
Say it again.
Share screen.
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, okay.
First of all, I would like to thank the committee for allowing me to present today. This is a very, very important hearing. So, Senator James, thank you, and for your committee as well as the leaders of the caucus, thank you for allowing us to present. What I would like to talk about are issues of concerns as it relates to primarily the African-American population in the state of Georgia. We have some concerns about the wealth disparities that have occurred historically, as well as the result of the pandemic. So what I will briefly cover is some of the problems that have historically been pervasive in the African-American community and some of the action steps that we are providing as a unit throughout the Southern region. And I was excited to hear about this committee and its goals because it aligns perfectly with what we're trying to achieve throughout the Southern region. So without further ado, let me begin. And just please confirm if you can see the slides.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, so on behalf of the Southern Region Economic Roundtable, which is a roundtable that is designed to bring together elected officials, local business stakeholders, and as well as civic and community leaders, we meet monthly as a region, and our region consists of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. Our chambers, which are, I think we have a few present. I like to thank them for coming. Our partners also include the project that we launched on February the 5th. We had an opportunity to meet with Janice Yellen and also Vice President Harris as a collective body of Black chambers throughout the United States of America to discuss the issues primarily about what African-American businesses face. We brought forth a regional perspective from the South because we feel that we have unique issues in the South that really have not historically been addressed. And so as a result, one of our colleagues in Athens, and I believe she's sitting right next to you, Commissioner Thornton, brought forth a proclamation in the city of Athens to really recognize groups and organizations who have historically been left out of participating in helping improve their communities. She, along with other colleagues on the city council, assured and positioned dollars to go into community organizations and groups who they felt were best suited and to really position these dollars to the community. And as a result, many of the organizations successfully allocated monies out to the various communities, and I believe they all completed it by December the 31st. One of the chambers, which is the Northeast Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce, was able to receive $500,000 in which they impacted 135 businesses. As a result of this initiative, our colleagues down in Florida were able to be in a position to distribute and get dollars in partnership with the local credit union, where they allocated $1 million of microloan programs out to minority business owners and women-owned businesses. We just concluded a project where our colleague in Albany, Georgia, the Albany Business League, were able to impact about 28 businesses with $5,000 or more grants, followed by acknowledgement by Mayor Van Johnson, who was the first in the Southeast to really come out and pledge his partnership to our Black businesses, which have historically also been left out of economic opportunities. In Macon, Mr. Alex Haversham, along with the leadership of Sharice Stevenson, are working on a project to make sure that they're focusing in on getting monies out to businesses within the community. Now, these projects just did not occur with African-American businesses. All businesses were able to benefit white, Black, Hispanic, and others in these economic opportunities. In the city of Aiken, we partnered with the NAACP chapter, along with Councilwoman Price, who were instrumental in helping launch an initiative, which we call the Economic Initiative with NAACP as well. As a result of all these activities and projects that are going on, we realized the need to really begin capturing our own data, because many of the information and data out there is not really reflecting what is happening on the ground to impact these communities. We selected these counties that you see highlighted in purple, which are the largest concentration of Black populations within the United States of America. These are also the same populations where you see the largest amount of health disparities and large amounts of poverty. So these are the areas that we wanted to focus in on, known as the Cotton Belt, also AKA the Black Belt. On yesterday, we had an opportunity to participate on the White House and Treasury guidance call. And one of the things that we have been emphasizing throughout this process is that cities and municipalities have the discretion to allocate particularly the $1.9 trillion that are coming down into very creative and innovative programs. And as you saw on the previous slide, that's what a lot of cities throughout the South took leadership on behalf of their county commissioners having the political will to say that we will do something different. We are very familiar with the traditional organizations and groups who typically distribute monies to communities who are disadvantaged. But sometimes, those organizations do not do a great job of really reaching the community that need it most. So one of the things that we are producing out of our reports, because we saw through examples that these organizations are Black chambers, selected civic groups and organizations and nonprofits who are doing the true work on the ground, have gotten the results that we need. And those are the things that we're advocating for. But more importantly, what we're concerned about is what we have seen historically happen to the African-American community over a period of time. And through this slide, we show you years of historic disenfranchisement of one race of people who have been here even before 1619 throughout today, and what has happened in terms of what I say are missed opportunities. 200 years of slavery, followed by 100 years of Jim Crow, followed by 156 years and counting of felony disenfranchisement, and different organizations and groups who are actively fighting against opportunities for this group of individuals. What this has resulted into is a tremendous wealth gap amongst Blacks, whites, Hispanics, and other cultures. And as you see, the result of this has, when you look at household equality, household inequality. For every dollar a white household earns, Hispanic households earn an equivalent of 8 cents. And African-American households, a measly 1 cent. And we should be horrified by this inequality. And that is one of the things that we have charged ourselves as chambers. That's what we have charged our partners with and other groups within our community, to let them not forget the people who have been here, the historically marginalized and disadvantaged individuals, and remind them that as a result of this, we as Black Americans in this country have the least in terms of assets. We fall and rank at the bottom. We have the least in terms of the financial disparities highlighted in the turquoise indicator at below. We are the least in terms of households under $100,000. We fall at the bottom. And also we fall at the bottom in terms of home ownership. And this has been exacerbated by the results of the pandemic. And these things were happening and trending long before the pandemic. When you look at hate crimes in America, African Americans are subjected to more hate crimes by race than any other race, topping well over 2,000. When you look at life expectancy during this pandemic, our life expectancy has reduced by 3.6 to 5 years. We are the ones who are been ravaged most by the COVID-19 virus. We are the least likely to be insured compared to our white counterparts. We are the most likely to be pulled over and stopped and ticketed for driving and searched in terms of pullovers by our police officers. We are the ones who are most likely to be arrested and convicted when we go before court sentencing. And we are most likely to be the ones who experience the death penalty. So these are statistics and motivations. And when we look at these disparities that have historically benefited this community, I just want to remind the public, I want to remind us that as we look at this $6 trillion that is possibly going to trickle through this economy, we must not forget the first people, the historically disadvantaged, and no other minority class, no other immigrant class who has come to America has experienced this type of disparity. So reconstructions, we missed our opportunity. Those laws and policies came back to be reversed. The New Deal, we did not benefit from the growth of the middle class, those 35 years of expansion. The Great Society, affirmative action was not enough. We did not benefit that as a minority class. And the period of yes, we can, no, we didn't, it was not enough for this group of individuals. And so now as we enter this birth of Bidenomics, and as we look at shared opportunity and prosperity for all races, the question remains, and what I want to remind is that as we look into these policies, we see that these policies are designed and positioned to the lowest percentile of earners. So if you are in some of the most impoverished communities, if you're in some of the most rural communities, these policies are designed to benefit you. If you are that working class population living check to check, these policies are here to benefit you. If you are the middle class, and you know the middle class lift all boats, we pay the most taxes, these policies are here to benefit you. So when we look at that 1.9 trillion as elected officials are making decisions, we want to urge them to do what the other cities and municipalities do. Be innovative, be creative in terms of positioning your dollars. The conversation around infrastructure and things of that nature, that's a conversation that needs to take place during the second round. You have $2.2 trillion that's coming down in the infrastructure project. So why are we talking about infrastructure with the 1 trillion in the first phase that are coming down when we really need to be thinking about infrastructure in the second phase? And that's what we're really trying to emphasize to cities and municipalities, is to use these dollars to uplift those in need in your community. The 1.1 trillion that is going to be invested in families and education, those are some of the three things that we can look for. So this total of $1.6 trillion, how will we use and leverage those dollars differently? Again, like my colleague, Marquis Tate stated, when we look at the Advancing Equity and Support for Underserved Communities, which was signed into law on January the 20th, it states that the federal government should pursue a comprehensive approach for advancing equity for all, including people of color who have otherwise been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely impacted by persistent poverty and inequality. When we look at equity, it means that fair, just, impartial treatment for all individuals, including those who belong to underserved communities, those who have been denied such treatments as Blacks, Latinos, Indigenous, Native Americans, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and other people of color, members of religious minorities, LGBT persons, and persons with disabilities who live in rural areas, and persons who have adversely been affected by persistent poverty and inequality. This piece of legislation is mandated and required that all of these agencies consider those equity set-asides, and that is what we are petitioning to. Also, there are additional fundings and opportunities for our community organizations with projects and activities that are designed with the additional dollars that come through to be earmarked. And those are the things that we're educating and advocating for communities to consider. So our school systems are now and have received over $81 billion of the $31 billion that is coming through. And we want to urge our school systems to be innovative and creative. Get outside organizations and groups to help with lost learning, because the school systems cannot do it alone. That $2.2 trillion package. There are going to be many rounds. These are going to be project-specific projects that we want cities and municipalities to be patient with that first round of money and make sure that you strategically put your infrastructure projects towards the project package that is designed for. And the $10 billion. The $10 billion is really designed to really help our rural communities. We want to make sure that you understand that these are other additional dollars that you can tap into. And I'd like to thank Senator James for really breaking down some of the areas. I'm not going to, for the sake of time, to really break down, and I just want to invite you to some of our roundtables where we really talk about in detail the $100 billion that is going directly for schools. But what I do kind of point out in that first line, it says states and districts that serve low income, who have low incomes, and students will get more per student than any other district. States and districts that serve low income students will get more money per student. And we see that as the dollar allocations come out, that sometimes the city allocations versus the school allocations are 2 and 3 times what the schools are getting. So the schools are doing very good. The poor, the more need that your school district is, the more funding that's coming down. In terms of the jobs plan, as you see in the first 4 items, transportation, water, sewage, high-speed broadband, which we hear a lot of cities are talking about. This is the package that is reserved for that. Again, do not waste the $1.9 trillion on infrastructure projects when you have an infrastructure bill that is coming soon enough in August and September, where those projects, which will be project-specific, will be appropriately to process funds. We also like and support the fact that it includes affordable and sustainable housing. Another round of funding for public schools, community colleges, child care facilities. A large portion of child care facilities are ran by African-American females. We highly support that. Workforce development programs. We have to look at that, and we heard somebody speak about workforce development. I can assure you that many of our chambers have been charged over the summer to make sure that they create apprenticeship programs, internship programs, and hiring programs. We're helping them to understand what's the impact of a $15 hour salary. And many are experiencing troubles with hiring individuals as well, and we're working diligently to correct that. Home, community-based, aging care facilities, and also monies for disabilities. So $400 billion is going towards such projects, and this is what we will talk more about on a later date. Agricultural provisions, that $10 billion, whether you have air property, whether you're a farmer, whether you're doing food insecure programs, huge opportunities and provisions that are available for individuals within our community. We just want to make sure that our community is educated about this. We as chambers are tracking that $5 billion for small businesses and the $15 for small businesses grants. We look forward to partnering with our states and municipalities, putting into policy sustainable programs so we can make sure that the organizations, our chambers and our nonprofits who are doing it are truly being the distributors of the dollars for the communities that need it most. The navigation program, we are working together with our elected officials. I know our colleague out of Augusta, Rodney West, she's leading on putting together a regional grant. So we look forward to working with this committee. We do have the support of our elected officials on this program. So we're looking in terms of expanding that. Some of the projects and the way we divide the projects out, we divide them into these different 12 categories. And we began putting our communities over a 90-day project, making sure that they understand these tools of economics and how to use these tools of economics, these same tools which have historically been used to gentrify our communities. But we want to take our toolbox back and begin improving our communities. If you look at this chart, which indicates the historically underutilized HUD zones, that same chart that I showed you earlier, which was the Cotton Belt, the Black Belt, are the same areas in which our historically underutilized business zones are located. So we are working diligently. I want to give a shout out to our colleague who you'll be hearing from next, and that's Reverend Malone, and the dynamic work that he's doing in the community. And I hope you guys will be able to see a video of what he's doing. Splash projects and community mapping asset projects are things that we are starting to say, take pictures, document the issues in your community. Let's turn those issues into projects. And these are some of the things that we are working on. Pick up the brooms, pick up the shovels, start that demonstration project so we can then present that project and it can become the before and after through green space funding and things of that nature, other dollars and opportunities that we can access for years to come. Reverend Malone, who's coming up, talk to you about what they're doing in terms of focusing on families, and building communities through our faith-based economic development project. We are asking that our faith-based institutions activate your retired teachers, your retired professors within your congregation. We're asking the Divine Nine to come out and support with this lost learning, help feed these kids who may be nutritionally deprived and food insecure, assist with lost learning in smaller settings, because the school systems will not be equipped to put a program together according to your child's learning styles. They are not effective in helping with students with disabilities, and we feel that the church is best to address these needs, and we're looking forward to the partnership with the faith-based community who has committed to provide tutorial services and employment services and job fair services and career development and training services. And these are the initiatives that are coming, as well as counseling services and support through those communities. Again, more information will be hosted at our different roundtables, our faith-based and community economic development roundtable, which is hosted by Reverend Malone, our education and workforce development roundtable, which is hosted by Crystal Spellman, and our contractors and infrastructure development roundtable. And we have various partnerships with the Georgia Black Contractors Association and other groups who are helping out with these initiatives. Our tourism and rural development roundtable, we are encouraging our small towns to identify their brand and their cultural identities. You'll hear Reverend Malone talk about some of the ideas that we shared as well. And then our agribusiness roundtable. We want to make sure that we're understanding the economic opportunities in these spaces. And any other roundtable that you feel that we need to have as a community, let's sit down and discuss that. Of course, our Southern Regional Economic Roundtable, which we do Wednesdays at 8:30, is phenomenal. We have input from elected officials, school board members throughout the 7 states, and it's been very viable in terms of providing us direction and the guidance that we need to have a successful community. Again, to the committee, to Senator James, thank you for an opportunity to present today.
And I thank you very much for this great presentation. In fact, I think we ought to clap. It was awesome. Thank you very much. Will you repeat what you said about broadband before we go to Reverend Malone and then followed by our Commissioner Thornton?
Yeah, some of the current, broadband is a very needed, it's needed. I mean, it's invaluable, particularly to our smaller and rural communities. But the concerns that we have that as we saw the allocations that came down, for example, we saw one municipality was allocated $6 million. Well, when they got their proposal for $5 million to install broadband, I was like, wow, you're going to use all of your resources, the first round of money towards that because they have been advised to do so. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And I was like, you don't want to do that. Just hold off. Let's wait until the infrastructure dollars come, and then maybe let's consider applying that during then. But, we have to look at how these allocations, and then there are other line items and provisions where individuals can get broadband out. But to use your first round of funding, particularly if you're a small county or municipality, it does not make sense right now to make that type of investment. All we're saying is make that investment later when the transportation, which is going to be project specific, don't use the dollars in phase one, which you can be used as discretionary income, the way you want to use it, as long as it follows the various federal guidelines. It does not make sense to use all those resources in round one when that should be something that be invested in round two.
Thank you. I thought that was something you needed to repeat because there are many counties and municipalities that are present on either streaming, and we have many people who are on the Zoom line right now, and many of them are elected officials, so they needed to hear that. And any of you who are listening, if you want more information, please join the roundtable, especially on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m., because that's the one that I've been on, and I've learned so much. Some of us who think we know a lot, we find out we don't when we come together. And as Mr. Anderson says, two heads are better when all of us come together.
And it's a beautiful thing because you guys are learning from your colleagues. And I think one of the amazing things about that Wednesday roundtable, it's small cities, it's large cities, and you're starting to hear the same thing, the same tactics and things of that nature. But more importantly, what we want to make sure that you're taking away are best practices.
That's right. And then also, I found that, as my grandmother used to say, the right hand need to know what the left hand is doing.
Exactly.
And, often we're duplicating efforts, and we don't even know. And we've learned lessons in what we're doing, and we could share that with the rest of them. So I applaud you for the Southern Leadership
Southern Regional Roundtable.
Thank you.
And it's hosted by the Black chambers throughout the Southern region. And I want to thank you and thank them. And many are there today. Many wanted to come, but we will have an opportunity. And again, we want to meet and bring them to Georgia. We'll let Georgia be the first one where we come in and really sit down and talk with you before the end of the year. More importantly, we do have a report that we want to present probably mid-year and at the end of the year, because we are collecting data in real time. We are collecting best practices. And one of the great things is that everybody is sharing. Where we don't have capacity, if you have an idea, or if you're starting out, or you've been existing and you want to tweak it, and then if you're ready to exit, everybody is sharing and building capacity. Thank you.
And we will have a report from this hearing that we're having, and so maybe that can be a part of what you share when you give it to our governor or lieutenant governor.
And you will be hearing more too, because our NAACPs like the Gwinnett branch, the Aiken branch, the North Carolina branch, they have been leading the way in terms of coming up with an economic equity lead plan. So as they reach out and they solidify those plans, other NAACP branches will be hearing from that. Okay. But I wanted to acknowledge them and thank them as well.
Well, we thank you very much for the wealth of knowledge you have and that you're sharing with us all today. And I'm sure it's going to make us move forward in the state of Georgia. But other states have already contacted me. I guess they saw that we were having this event, And the Interstate Corporation Committee is a standing committee that was created by U.S. Congress. And so every state has an Interstate Corporation Committee. And I heard from the chairperson of the Senate Interstate Corporation Committee in Mississippi, and three other ones too, Fraser.
Great.
Yeah, all these people. So they're saying.
Well, let's
that
talk offline because we need them at that round table because you know how that goes. I think we're about to approach about 100 folks participating in that call. It's really growing. So
Okay. Well,
absolutely.
thank you. We're gonna continue to. Yes. What's the call-in number?
I'll send it to you, Senator James. You know that's an invitation only call, so I'm gonna give it to you to give it to who you need to give it to.
Okay. Well.
We'll make sure you
Other
get it.
legislators want to be invited.
Yeah, and
Senator,
the other legislators, the gentlemen in the
Senator-
room and the ladies that's in the room, y'all raise y'all hand if y'all on that roundtable call. Talk with them. You can get it from them as well.
And
Marquis
this
Tate,
is
Reverend
Dr.
Malone,
Lester Jackson.
I believe Shane Blackwell is in there. Those are some of the leaders that represent the Southern Regional Coalition of Black Chambers. And then also, I heard you acknowledge Marquis. Marquis is a part of the Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers. I wanted to correct that title. Georgia
Excellent.
Coalition.
Okay. Sorry, I just wrote. We typed what we got.
I know.
So-
I know.
And Senator from Savannah just said, make sure that you put him on the list.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr.
We can all
Lester
talk
Jackson.
before the call, y'all. Don't.
And
we can all
Columbus.
talk
And
before the call.
Columbus.
Part of my other job, I am a member of the Black Chamber in Savannah and the greater Savannah, Georgia area. So it's
Great job.
It's important that we understand also that we are part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Savannah's represented strong.
and Savannah is an integral part. I heard them on the line before. So thank you. Okay, thank you, Ms. Hill. And what we will do now is listen to the end of the report, which is Bishop. I'm making you a bishop.
Pharrell Malone.
Reverend Malone, all the way from Waycross.
Y'all make sure he show that video, okay?
You have it, Michael. You have to show it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll let you start now. I'll cue up your video in a minute.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Honorable Senator Donzella James and to all of honorable senators in your respective districts. My name is Reverend Pharrell Malone. I'm from the great city of Waycross, Georgia. Tell folk you can't go to heaven unless you go to Waycross, because it's the way of the cross. No cross, no crown. Amen.
Right, amen.
I've invited our mayor Bishop Mike Angelo James, and the commissioners and the Ware County Commission and the Board of Education in Waycross as well. Michael has done an extremely thorough job in explaining where we are and what we're doing as a Black chamber and as we're working. My concerns today, and I thank you for having this hearing. Thank you for allowing for us to get clarity on the law, because we need for our county commissions, our city commissions, and our Board of Educations to recognize that this first round of funding provides for an opportunity for innovation and to build equity back into our community. As Mr. Hill very correctly stated, we as Blacks, and let me be very clear, we as Blacks are the only race who have been totally and systematically disenfranchised within this country. Systematically, it has taken place and it is continuous. This stimulus of $1.9 trillion that's coming in, and possibly two additional stimuluses that may come through, are very clear in the fact that it is time now for America to wake up and for Georgia to wake up and to build the equity back into our community. Now, the real thing we need is the clarity for the mayors, the county commissions, city commissions, county commissions, Board of Education, and superintendents to know that they have the creative and innovative ability to do something different, and that they not rush to administer these funds or designate these funds, as many of them already have, without gaining community support and without the earmarking of projects for within the Black community. Because if you look at that executive order, let me bring something right up. It says very clearly, it is therefore the policy of my administration, and that's President Biden. It is therefore the policy of my administration that the federal government should pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved and marginalized and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. That serves one race. That serves one race.
I hear you.
And that is the Black race. So I told folk a long time ago, I'm unashamedly Christian and unapologetically Black. And what I want to make sure of today is that we bring clarity on, and that we also make sure that commissioners and mayors and the general legislature is aware of the executive order 13985 that was put into place on January 20th, and that they utilize that policy. They utilize that policy to make sure there are innovative solutions within our community to build Black equity and to build Black wealth. So I want us to be, I'm very clear on that. And then let me also speak, and I know we have Athens here, we got Atlanta here, we have Savannah here, we got Columbus here, we have Albany here, but there is other places in Georgia called rural Georgia that is always consistently, intentionally, deliberately left out.
There are about 20 rural county leaders who are on the
Thank
line
you.
with us.
Thank you. I stand for rural Georgia because we are in need of those fundings, and we're in need for the commissioners and the mayors to understand that they have that flexibility so that they might have the will. They have to have the will to administer this money in the right directions. Integration. My father told me years ago, and my father died in '79. He said, it was in 1975, he started talking to me about urban removal. And I said, Dad, that thing is urban renewal. He says, no, let me school you. It's urban removal. And as he explained it to me, I was blessed to be with Benny Hand out of Albany. He and I were selected as two who were chosen by the Bank of America Leadership Development Training Institute to go through 8 weeks of intense study on community economic development and how do we build our communities. They did a 2-day study on understanding urban removal. They called it urban renewal, but the interstate highways busted right down through our communities. The urban removal was a way in which they disenfranchised our communities because our communities were built and they were strong. They may have not had all the beautiful houses, but there was an infrastructure, a family infrastructure, a community infrastructure, a tribal infrastructure that allowed us to have strength. And urban removal came through and said, we'll give you another house on the other side of town, but we want to bust this neighborhood up. That's what happened to us. And what this money can be allocated for is to rebuild our communities. Broadband is going to come. It's going to come in the infrastructure bill, in the jobs bill. It's going to come. But we now have agencies who, according to the Georgia Municipal Association and the Georgia Association of County Commissioners, trying to encourage them to spend the majority of the money on those areas when our neighborhoods are still disenfranchised and those things that have come to us have not been. Now, I'm very clear, and I'm not apologetic on how I feel. And I want you to hear me out through this. I think integration hurt us more than it helped us. Hear me through this, because if it was truly integration, all of us would have been able to work together. We never integrated. We assimilated. We gave up our high schools. We gave up our communities. We gave up everything. And our communities became ghettos while the other side of town began to grow. This is an opportunity for our leaders who have been elected in these places. As Mordecai told Esther, you were placed there for such a time as this. Amen. To stand up and believe in who you are, believe in the people that you represent, and to make sure that your community is made better from this 1.9 trillion, this 2.3 trillion, and this 1.8 trillion that's coming down. So I'm also asking not only the African American leaders, because a whole lot of cities ain't got a majority African American, I'm asking our white counterparts to recognize and look through the community and see how systematic racism has ravished our communities. And the tax dollars that are coming down belong to all of us, because all of us on April 15th send some money up to the federal government. So I want to just close by what we're doing in Waycross, and we've just submitted a bold proposal to our Board of Education. Mm-hmm. We submitted a proposal to our Board of Education that pretty well outlines for them what our expectations are. Mm-hmm. It is based on Executive Order 13985, mm-hmm. and we asked our Board of Education for 30% of the funding to be allocated to the Black community. We take that as a proposal, as a beginning point by which we can negotiate, because even in loss of learning, you don't want to keep the children at the school for an additional 3 hours. They're trying to put all the after-school programs at the school hours when we have 9,000 churches in every community. Where retired teachers and mothers of the church and the Divine Nine and the Masonic orders and the Eastern Stars and members of the veterans can interact with those children and not only give them some lost learning, but give them some lost love. Mm-hmm. So we're utilizing that as a piece. With that, Dr. Simonique Moody and Dr. Janae Walker help us pull that piece together. But here's what I want us to recognize is that we also have to make a decision to redo our communities. And in that, we are requesting that we utilize these monies to help build that. Michael's gonna show a video that I put together, and I want you to understand this video was specifically designed for the Black community. We had to apply for a grant that was intently placed on the Black community, rebuilding an ecology and an economy within the Black community. So from that, you're gonna see the Black liberation pieces. You're gonna see, it's a 2-minute video to show what we put together for that particular piece and knowing what we can do as a community. Now, my organization is Fresh Communities, and Fresh stands for Facilitating Restoration for Equitable and Sustainable Healthy Communities. Facilitating restoration for equitable and sustainable healthy communities.
Very good.
Fresh Communities, Facilitating Restoration for Equitable and Sustainable Healthy Communities, is a grassroots culmination of over 30 years of Black liberation for rural Southern Georgia through creative implementation of economic, political, and cultural entities with a strong Black agenda. Our mission is a worldwide coordinated collaborative strategy empowering every individual with information, opportunities, and creative pathways to make healthy life choices and establish a family and cultural legacy. Fresh is the next genesis for Black liberation that combines proven community strategies with new technological approaches that enhances, restores, and sustains our community. Selecting Census Tract 9504 as the initial site for the Black liberation demonstration will create and sustain an ecosystem for justice, economic stability, and wealth creation that can be replicated within the region. The Fresh team, through our Justice Initiative, has been totally involved in leading the effort to demand justice. Plans are in place for a community complex at 1200 College Street that will reflect the values and curriculum of the Highlander Center and a FAR 31 business incubator within the hub zone areas. utilizing the former Atlanta Life building on Ossie Davis Parkway as the Mall of Justice, creating central offices and structure for the local and national Black movements operations, along with the leadership and youth training, enabling clear choices for liberation by creating an ecosystem for systemic growth with a shopping center to house and a grocery and dollar store that will market products from Black farmers and producers. This ecosystem of a community center increasing income of over 13 million, thusly supporting new housing development and commercial opportunities that are truly enhancing community wealth. A percentage of the profits from the store and contracts will be placed in a community endowment utilizing a non-direct recognition financial instrument, assuring continued and sustained community growth and wealth. Amen. Let me close by saying this. We are embarking upon a tour. And Senator James, I invite you and your committee to be a part of the tour. We're going on a tour.
Listen.
We're going on a tour between June 1st and August 31st. Our plans are to go into at least 40 Georgia counties as we will cluster those counties together. Mm-hmm. We have 90 days to work with, but we're going to go into at least 40 to 50 counties. We're working in partnership with Fort Valley State University and their Mobile Technology Center. You saw my bus on there, that's my bus. And what we're doing is we're going into each community to explain and teach to communities the innovative abilities that can be arrived from this American Rescue Plan. Not only that, we're going to work with the census and the redistricting. Not only that, we're going to be able, through the American Rescue Plan, we're going to be able to get almost everybody in Georgia insured, either through the ACA or through Medicare, Medicaid. So we will have Fort Valley set up. Fort Valley Mobile Technology Center has 20 computers on it. We have 6 additional computers. We're working in conjunction with Siriga Rising, Black Voters Matter, Fair Count, Faith in Public Works, and Georgia Acts, Bambi, Hayes Brown. We're working with a consortium of people throughout the entire state of Georgia. We're going to come into every community that we can. We're going to spend a full day in that community, operating in 8 different areas of teaching: arts and entertainment, health and education. And actually the tour is called Fresh Communities 3V Liberation Tour. And the V means voters. We need to teach our voters about the new laws and how we need to prepare for that. We're going to have an ID identification system on the train, on the bus with us, so that we can get people issued their state IDs. So and we have committees through Black Voters Matter who's working to bring people to that site with the information that they need. So we're going to deal with voters, vaccines, and vision. Those are the 3 V's. Voting, understanding the vaccines and the pandemic, and also how do we create a vision for our community? Because the money is there, the ability, the vision is there. Without a vision, the people perish. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you is our prayer.
Thank you. And I will try to go on that tour.
Yes, ma'am.
Although this is only my 3rd day out, because in January I had COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was in the hospital all the way up until 2.5 weeks ago.
Wow. Yes.
But you know what God said? We're not ready for you.
Yes. Yes.
And here I am, right here today. Thank you.
We've been praying for your cousin
What's
Sharon Fuller.
Yeah, the date for thank you. June the 1st.
June 1st through August 31st. And we are outlining the cities now. We're having a meeting on Friday morning to solidify the calendar, and then we're working with all of the institutions that we're working with. If you would like a special time that you'd like for us to be in your community, which may be more ideal, let us know, and we'll geographically try to work it out so that we can reach that. We really want to have impact in the communities. We really want everybody in your community insured, because while we're dealing with health, we need people to have the ability to have access to health care. 912 5817. Pharrell Malone.
And we're gonna move.
FER-RELL. 912-816-5817.
We have been waiting for our commissioner from Athens, Clarke County.
Yes. Come on with it.
Ms. Ovita Thornton. So as Reverend Malone takes his seat, we thank you, sir.
Yeah.
A few yeses.
Okay, that's my home.
We'll make sure I'll get with you right after this vote.
We thank you very much. We're gonna, we've been
I'm good.
anxiously anticipating hearing from you. How long will it take? Because they're gonna.
I'm gonna be real quick because they've said it all.
Okay, and then we have Miss Alice Bussey, who is on the line. She is the co-owner of the Buses Flower and Gifts, but she is with the Concerned Black Clergy, and she chairs the Economic Development Committee. And then we'll also hear from the most puissant, Frederick McHenry, briefly right after Miss Bussey. And then we'll wrap up as soon as we can. But some of you who are here, there are people who wanted to make testimonies. So if any of you are listening and want to give a testimony, please let it be 2 minutes when you give it. So prepare. We've brought you a wealth of information already, and I hope that we have laid the groundwork, because there was no blueprint on this bill. It has not been done in the United States 100 years at least, if not more, since FDR? I believe so.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We would love to hear from you at this time.
First of all, I want to give honor to God that I am here. I had promised for as long as Pharrell and I have been on the battlefield, when I get lifted up and get in this type of platform, we get a little shamed sometimes when we start moving up. But just being in the space with you, Senator, and the committee, I am thankful, and I know where my blessings come from. I am from Athens, Clarke County. I'm a commissioner for District 2. I'm serving my 3rd year. I'm up for re-election in 22. I served prior to that for the school board for 16 years. So I know my community and I know my people. And I am so glad that Michael Hill and Shane brought me into this network. I have learned so much. And what I have learned is that I know now why our black people are struggling. Because this knowledge is not public, it's not free, it's not like everybody's sharing it. And then when you don't have the knowledge, then you got to depend on somebody else to lead you around and guide you. In 2019, Commissioner Mike Hamby and I presented a proposal that for $4 million in Athens, Clarke County, called the Prosperity Package. And it passed with our commission, but when COVID hit, they redirected some of the money to what they call the Resilience Package. But what I'm seeing now with the American Rescue Plan, it's almost what we saw in 2019. It was money going into the community where the most need was at. But when COVID hit, everything got a little detoured. But then we got another bite of an apple. Oh, no, right after then, I wrote a resolution, Black Lives Matter resolution. I got a little bit of kickback because they wanted it to be attached to the national Black Lives movement, which I support. But my point was, people in Athens have always known Black Lives Matter.
And they have never been recognized. They have never been supported. They have been victims. And so I was trying to just focus on Athens, which led us to another bite of the apple when the CARES money came down. And the same commissioner, Mike Hamby, and I put out a proposal where we were able to give the Black Chamber of Commerce of Athens, how much did we give you? $500,000. But we also gave money for rental assistance. We also gave money for food, utilities, and those dollars ended the end of December. But we did what we were able to do on a much smaller scale than what we have the opportunity now. Now, I'm gonna be upfront. I'm about like Reverend Malone. I don't apologize for being Black. This is who I am, and I'm kind of proud of it. But my concern is, and Senator and the committee, is the accountability. Too many of my fellow commissioners in smaller towns, they don't even know about this money. Most of the people who are managing this money are your county managers and your finance managers, and they are, and if somebody doesn't bring it to their attention on the early end, this is going to fail. This will fail. We all have a responsibility to make sure we do our part to make sure everybody is included, educated, and if we got to hold their hands through the process, we've had, in Athens, I coordinated 2 community meetings on this. We called it the family reunion, and we educated folk, but we still have not had a citywide conversation about this. We still have not talked about this collectively as a commission. But I'm on it. I'm on it. We all on it. But we all got to be on it. So I want to plug in one thing because we had another killing this past weekend, Mother's Day. And we have neglected our Black youth. And someone put it so nicely, COVID shut everything down, but the gangs were still recruiting. And now we got to look back at our gangs. Senator James, you talked about mental health. These are things that are relative to us. And we need to work with those in power and the powers that be, but we need to articulate this. So Michael and Reverend Malone and Shane, they've done a great job educating me. I know more now. I'm not going to say I know more now than anybody on the commission, but I know a lot, you know. I know a lot. And I would not have known this. I would not know what to say, because Shane and I was talking on the way here. I got this great idea that I'm going to do when I get back. Because if we don't stay on the forefront, or if we keep saying, oh, they'll let us know when the meeting is, let us know what we can do. Oh, yeah, you think that's a good thing to spend it on? But if we are not educated, this will fail. And we will go so far back from where we came from. I thank everybody for listening to me. Again, I thank the committee for allowing me to speak. We're going to do our job in Athens. We're going to try to get on this tour. And I know Sharon's talking about another tour, so we've
It's
got...
the same.
Oh, it's the same, okay. So we got to get into those rural areas to make this stuff turn around. Thank you for having me.
Well, we thank you, and I want you to know that we're not going to allow it to fail. That's why we are here today. And I know the state will be disseminating some of the money that's received, especially the non-essential unit of local government. So we want to make sure that We know everything, they know all the information, and that they work with us. We can't help them. Go ahead, Commissioner. We
One
can't
thing,
help them if they don't
one
come.
thing I gotta say, I know there are folk watching from Athens, and I gotta make sure I give a shout out to a young man named Charles Hardy. He has done an amazing job trying to deal with the homelessness. That even walking down the street and I saw the folk under the tents. This homeless problem has to be addressed.
Yes, yes.
And so I do want to shout out because those are my issues and my people. Thank you.
And we thank you, and you know, I've been clapping for everyone that's doing such an excellent job. And we'll go ahead and hear from our Masons first, and then Miss Bussey. Miss Alice Bussey, go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, family, because we're all related to each other, so that we recognize that first. We're all kin to each other, period. Our DNA, mitochondrial DNA of the Eve gene, relates us all together. And we all have to recognize that as we move to do the empowerment of humanity. We don't want to implode from this situation because everybody loves someone. And since we love someone, even the ones that don't love us still love someone. And so we have to respectfully take that in consideration so that we don't implode. We need to take monies that we get from these assistance programs, and we need to get it back to the legislature so that it can go to the proper people so that it can actually be allocated correctly. Now, from my perspective of the Masonic United Nations, we go out throughout all the different municipalities and countries and everywhere we can go so we can help encourage people to be together. Unity is the main ticket. Once you unify yourself, then you actually be able to address your issues and recognize that it is a big family and we got to take care of our families. One of the things is important is I've been rooted here in this state of Georgia. I know for a fact from the historical landmarks of things about 184 years of family here in this state of Georgia by way of Athens and also into Hazelhurst, Georgia and all those places like that. That's where we're rooted from. And you know a few names of the people that actually have run this city and everything, Maynard Jackson and John Wesley Dobbs and all of us were his family, okay? And I want to say that I initially took on this because I was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk or talk. And I came out of that and I promised that when I got out of that wheelchair that I would continue to help humanity and build people up. We brought on Love Walk Atlanta in the city of Atlanta. In 2016, we walked down the streets of my mentor, Reverend Ben Stalmarker. We worked together to make a difference so that we can let everybody recognize one another, to see each other for who we are as humans. And we got to take this and utilize this for our youth, the next generation, so that we can never implode, so we can stand together in one nation. Individually, we can't do that, but we can do that together, one nation under God. And so I have a whole bunch of titles. That don't mean anything to me. What it means something to me is that I'm a human being working in this world right now, trying to help other people. I've got a national day here in the United States in my name, but that doesn't register to me for me. I'm a worker bee. And in order for me to do that, I got to go to city, which that's what we're doing currently. I've been working with Senator James and all the different municipalities and places I go. But I don't boast and brag, I just go in and do what I got to do. The work got to be done, and it's real important that we recognize and love each other. And that's why I'm here, because I'm passionate about what I do. But,
Introduce.
oh, this young lady, Sandy. Well, she's like an auntie to me. So, Sandy, you want to say? Take your.
Sorry, I forgot. I'm President and CEO of Imego Public Relations. I'm based here in the greater Atlanta region. And I work on church-based projects as well as for nonprofit organizations and health organizations. So I'm here to find out more about what is going on with this particular plan and act and how I may be of assistance.
We thank you, and we thank you
Thank you. And I want to just let everybody know that I'm here. If you need, I'll pass out whatever cards, but we are going to make the best connection we can do to be assistance so that you can see the Masons and the Eastern Stars and the Knights Templars moving around the country, doing what we do best, bring people together. Thank you.
What you mean? Say it. He would like one to, and let me say before you sit down that I am just hurt that you did not say that I'm part of your family too. Leroy Johnson, who was our first African-American senator since Reconstruction, here in his pictures right downstairs. He's my uncle. We're cousins. So we might not be first cousins, but we before three, I think. Two. He named everybody, Maynard Jackson. But thank you, yes, sir.
Can I acknowledge that you also are Eastern Star?
And I'm
of the Eastern Stars.
I did-
pass this over.
No, I did
you
not
did
know
not know I had
She's
to.
the Prime Minister of the Masonic United Nations out of the UN.
Hey, that's a clap there.
Thank you.
Oh,
You mean you haven't seen me wearing my crown around here? I was just kidding. I don't portray it. But we're gonna go ahead.
The feed has stopped.
Okay, go ahead.
For those of you that are still on Zoom, please remain because we do need to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it was Ms. Bussey.
Co-owner of Bussey Flower and Gifts, and Concerned Black Clergy. She is the chair of the Economic Development Committee, and I am proud to serve with Ms. Bussey over the years on the Concerned Black Clergy Economic Development Committee. And it is an honor because she's the one that charged me. You need to find out more. And I made one call. Senator James, since she was just vacationing in the hospital bed, right? You know, okay, and wasn't hurrying up to get out, right? So, and here we are, and I think everyone that has come, the committee, this is awesome, and you are awesome. And yes, Commissioner Thornton, the accountability tour is what we deemed it. Juliana Njuku of Workforce Strong, as we were talking, as I was laying out what we needed to do from month to month until November, for the session in November, we always speak about being accountable and holding our electeds accountable. And I said, that's it. It came right just then, accountability tour. And so to the tour, we are. We are.
Chair.
We are. And so without further ado, Ms. Alice Bussey, former president of the Atlanta Business League as well. Ms. Bussey has the word.
Thank you for having me. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I am Dr. Alice White Bussey, co-owner of Bussey's Florist. I also chair the Economic Development Committee for the Concerned Black Clergy of Metro Atlanta.
Okay.
And I have the distinction of being the first female president of the Atlanta Business League in its 88-year history. And I also represented the state of Georgia as an elected delegate to the White House conferences on small business in 1986 and 1995, where I became a maker of public policy, especially dealing with chairing the International Committee for Trade from Georgia. I am delighted to have this opportunity today to share with you briefly that I serve now on the Splash Committee for DeKalb County, where we are looking at potentially $1 billion over the next 5 years. And I'm on the Zoning Board of Appeals for DeKalb County. And I am here to talk about what we need to look at as I listen to Michael Hill and the chambers and others who gave us what we needed to know from the data. But I want you to know that in my leadership role at the League and since with the Concerned Black Clergy, I have looked at our institutions and our culture. And what I found after 16 years of working inside the federal government and being the first Black to be over the state of Georgia for the U.S. Department of Labor and the Department of Health and Human Services, I could not get the Black community those millions of dollars distributed because of the tax net. We had a gap as to who knew about the money and who knew I was in the position to distribute the money. So today, I just want to share that we have the money, we have leadership, we have those in our community who are very good and talented as to what to do with the money. But I'm of the opinion that small businesses and ownership has not been talked about nor included in helping to execute the law. The CARES Act was put in place, and $953 billion so far have been allocated for small businesses. When the Senate did a hearing to find out what happened to those funds, most of those funds went to larger businesses and very few Black businesses. So I helped talk with the head of the SBA, at that time, Ashley Bell, for the Southeast region, with Commissioner Larry Johnson, the banker, George Andrews, and others to see why can't we come up with a different way and process to get sole proprietors who represent 90% of all the 30 million businesses in America who were left out of the system. So for the past 10 months, I have been working with elected officials, federal officials, bankers, to come up with a way to help the new head of SBA, Isabel Guzman, to change the system and then be a more inclusive of sole proprietors, those who represent our industries, our communities, but yet we have yet to get very little of the Paycheck Protection money or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Funds. And that's what I wanted to share with Senator James and thank her for this opportunity to know that the federal government, through the Internal Revenue, through the Small Business Administration, and their counterpart have yet to come up with a system that's inclusive of sole proprietors in this country. Therefore, our communities still have not been able to get monies that President Biden targeted through targeted grants for low-income communities, $20 billion that was done last time and $15 billion that he did through the rescue plan. We still have only about under 4% of all the loans have gone to small business. That is an issue I wanted to bring before you, that we can have Congress to allocate funds, but we do not have the procedures nor the processes put in place, nor the paper function. The paper forms that they're using, they don't even represent small business. They just use boilerplates for large banks that they use for bigger business. So I wanted that issue to be put before you because our families, our churches, and our communities cannot get access to those funds because the CARES Act included churches, veterans, nonprofits, lobbying groups, as well as small businesses in the law. And we have yet to get that distribution to our community. And I just wanted to reemphasize that because that's what I learned when I was in the federal system, that systemic racism happens through the pen. It's through what you write on paper. And then it's who you have through the banking system, which is not a friend of sole proprietors. And they are the one blocking the opportunity for execution. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you today.
Thank you, Ms. Bussey, so very much.
Thank you.
Wow.
And I would like to reiterate on the comments you made regarding small businesses and access to those funds. I remember in the last activity, when the money came down, I get so many complaints from people who in the small business arena, whether they're on cafes, whether they are restaurant owners, whether they're beauty shop owners, I mean real people who do real work, small businesses, cab companies and things like that, they had no access. And a lot of time, a lot of the misinformation or lack of information out there just left them out or they didn't get it. The GLBC, I want to give them credit. With Karen Bennett, then the chair of the GLBC, we met almost daily. I mean, daily, trying to find answers and get information, extract information to disseminate to the people of Georgia who were being left out. And that seemed to be sort of bottlenecking and never got through, and that increased the frustration. But the work was being done, but somehow, please make sure that we get this information out to the general community. It is just so vital for that. And I'm Ed Harbison, and I'm just sitting in temporarily for Senator James, who's taking a break for a few minutes, if you would.
All right. And I am Sharon J. Hill, and thank you again, Ms. Bussey, and for all who have gone before. Yes, information to the communities. And that's where we are, and that's why we are here. This is a time, you heard Mr. Anderson speak on the epicenter, what Georgia has been. We have come through from the last election cycle, and now this. So from that, again, taking it to the people, this is what we will look to all of our electeds to do, the accountability of public information and education. That's right, we are eating this pie one bite at a time, one city and county at a time. And you heard Reverend Malone that this is about for however many we can make, and we want to reiterate that you need to let us know. We do want. What's coming up next is Memorial Day weekend. You know you all will be seeing your electeds out at the, what is it, the Memorial Day, the festivals, the parades, and everything. Okay, the time is now for them to be accountable. And yes, we have established that not all of them know. So we're not going at them. We are standing with them and making sure that everything they need to know, that we must know.
That's right.
Share. Have the conscious conversation wherever we are. We must act now. This is the time like none before. And so we have come to it. We must forge through it to what our communities need. So it is cities. Cities are receiving funds. The counties are receiving funds. The state. We have to make sure that all of those levels are aware. First of all, that we're aware. How about that one? Amen. Civic engagement. Show up. What Mr. Hill showed. Show up what Commissioner Thornton has spoken about. Show up, ask the questions. Be there for the public comment. Gather your community for the public comment. City Council, commission meetings, and please, please, please come and see your electeds. Make appointments. Is that not what you want to hear?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's Senator Harbison. Get on over there, Columbus, come on, Columbus, step up. He has a district office. They all have district offices. Show up there. Ask them, what are you doing? Because do you see this? I believe it was it Reverend Malone or Mr. Hill that spoke about it's time for us to take note. We need to brighten the corner wherever we are. So, as Reverend Malone did, you saw the pictures of what does your community look like. It's time for our vision board for ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. That's right. Where is our vision board? Make your pictures what it looks like and what it needs to be, as we spoke about, for the community, for young people, for our seniors, for veterans.
Yes.
For
Amen.
Homelessness. Amen. The homeless. I'm from Cobb County, and Mr. Reverend John Morgan had this awesome idea about the Hope Park for homeless. And he had worked with the different community entities. And somebody put in the paper that Cobb was working on a tent. A tent for the homeless? Tent park. Tent City, thank you.
That's right.
And there it went. All the wind. But yet and still, we don't lose hope because we still have each other and we're holding out for that, for what must be done. Well, guess what? It's here. It is here. And I would like to, at this time, as I speak about civic engagement, as I speak about speaking up, I have to introduce you to Ms. Monica Delancey from Cobb County. You may have heard of her. I facilitate outreach for Zion Baptist Church, and we were going through a time a few months ago and unable to assist right away. Well, she just happened to call and said, hey, do you have anyone that needs some help now? And yeah, they all need help right now. But guess what? She said, well, I am needing to know. And what happened was the lady went, she was able to go. I made calls for those. She was able to go, and she took her child. And just so happened that was actually covered by CNN. People saw, they sent funds, they helped, and then guess who else saw it? Oprah Winfrey. And so from that, Oprah had conversation with Monica later, and it is that she received a $50,000 grant to assist people, and she has just finished doing that, but then on to the next step, having a program for the people where they come in and they're being helped with their applications. Because see, as Ms. Bussey spoke about, oh, yes, it's there, but the process, if somebody's house got burnt, you think they're gonna have a Social Security card on them? How many make it out with a wallet in a fire? And we're saying emergency. No. We have to shift this paradigm, and this is how it gets done. So I don't know, I saw the feed go down. Are they still on, or? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then, Ms.
Sharon?
Monica. Yes.
Go ahead. No. After your next speaker.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sister Monica Delancey, are you still on, please? I hope so. Because I had the opportunity. She has gone from being the lone person standing up for renters. She has, it is Riverside Renters Association. And guess what? Her children are part of that whole process. I don't see her. Is she not there? Monica Delancey.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Is it okay now, Sherry?
Yes, yes, she may have gone, but that's the whole
Okay.
thing of her gathering people.
Just to ditto on the points that you're making.
Yes,
and
sir.
I just want to acknowledge this council person.
Oh, yes.
She is a person who was a freshman elected official, her first year.
All right.
And I want to recognize her because she was one of the first elected officials who was on our regional call, who was getting that information. And she was so inspired by what Commissioner Thornton did in Athens. She is leading the charge in Columbus, Georgia, to bring forth change and innovation and hopefully political will. So I'm glad to see our representative from Columbus because this sister needs your support. I want to acknowledge her and I want her to give some quick remarks on the great things that she's doing. And I've been watching her on videotape like it's a sports game. And we want to make sure that we have organizations in that Columbus, Georgia area that is really being empowered with distributing dollars to that community. And so I just want to recognize Councilwoman Tucker if she can give some remarks real quick. Councilwoman Tucker, are you there?
Can they be very brief because we
Very
have
brief.
we have four more people who are on the agenda and she was not on it, but we would love
okay.
to.
I'm sorry. I
we
didn't know.
would
I
love
thought y'all
to
had
hear
finished.
her
I
greet
thought y'all
us.
finished up, Senator James.
I'll let her
but-
greet us.
Can we go ahead and have a couple
Thank you,
comments?
Senator
Okay,
James.
I'm sorry. Okay, how you doing?
Can
Hello.
you hear me? Thank you so much. And thank you, Senator Harbison. Look, we will be getting in contact with you. I have the Muskogee County Democrat Chair, Tonza Thomas, on the call. We need desperate help here in Columbus, Georgia for our small business owners. We are very thankful for these ARP funds and thankful for the opportunity to basically assist our community and provide equity for all. So thank you, Michael Hill. You really helped me understand what our community has and what we need. And I appreciate you, Senator James, for just giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. I really wanted to come up there today to see you all smiling faces behind those masks. But thank you so much for
we
giving me
thank
the
you for your
opportunity.
comments, and we thank you for your great work that you're doing in your area. And this is a first. So many people have been asking me if we're going to have another meeting, but this is definitely the major meeting that we're having. I don't know if we'll have a second, but if not, maybe we can come to your town and have a second.
You need to host us.
You can host us.
I will definitely host
That's
you
how
all.
we
We
do
had
that.
our pastors roundtable. I will definitely do that. We need the assistance. Columbus is between second and third largest city. However, there are some issues I would say that I see in reference to us getting the economic impact to those who truly need it. So thank you all so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
And if I may just
Senator,
add to
yes,
that,
yes, Senator.
thank you very much for your timely comments. And I got to say this to you because I said it to some of my colleagues there in Columbus, Georgia, and I was just so astounded. As you may have heard me say earlier, we met, almost two and three times a week, fighting and trying to get these funds and information to our constituency, and of course our dialogue with some people there in Columbus, Georgia, but apparently we missed some. And to me, that's crucial. We don't need to miss anybody
That's
that's
right.
in need of that. And the problem is that we were getting all this information, putting it out to certain people, but we got to do a better job of that. We got to make sure, because I had a good friend of mine that called me and just said, we don't know this, we don't know this. But what she didn't know, Columbus, Georgia didn't get the money. Atlanta got the money, but it was not distributed from the governor's office to Columbus, Georgia. No money came down except one expenditure, and that was not to our small business people. But I just want to let you know that, trust me, we are working, we're on that situation. It is crucial. Let's dialogue together so we know what we're saying and listening to one another. I appreciate everything you do, and make sure that I'm up on it, that we're up on it, so we can make some good happen, okay? Get in some good trouble together.
That's right, Senator Harbison. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, what a segue. Good trouble. Okay, that's what this next person, I hope she is still on, Mrs. Fenika Miller. Is she still, was she able to stay?
Good
There
afternoon.
she is, talking about some
Hello.
good trouble. Talk about some good trouble. This is Mrs. Fenika Miller, founder of Mist Rising LLC and founder of New Vision MSK, which is a 501c3. She has that awesome office there in Warner Robins, and she has been really bringing up good trouble, having necessary trouble. And one of the people that Reverend Malone was speaking to regarding the Black Voters Matter and other entities that is going on. Ms. Miller, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
I'll be very brief. My name is Fenika Miller. I'm a small business owner and nonprofit director here in Warner Robins, Georgia. After 2 years of planning, we opened Succeed Co-work, which is a business incubator and co-work community for Black women entrepreneurs in Houston County. We're the only county in Middle Georgia that has gained population. 52% of our population are women, but our women are more likely to work in the service industry, to live in poverty, are primary wage earners, and still earn less than our male counterparts. Yet and still, we opened our doors to meet the needs of our community, and we self-funded our business. And that's also known as bootstrapping on the ground. I don't know.
That's right.
Executive Order 13985 has an equity mandate, which if allocated appropriately can immediately address gender issues that create systemic barriers to entrepreneurship and therefore innovation by Black women who are already leading our communities in every aspect. We are running nonprofits out of our own pockets that serve the urgent needs of communities, and we're also starting businesses in the state of Georgia in record numbers. Yet for all of our successes, the traditional resources and information that's available and freely shared with many white business owners through chambers of commerce or community development agencies and economic development departments, Black women and minority business owners are often shut out of those circles where information is shared. So our firms and our businesses are most at risk for failure, and we're struggling to keep the doors open and scale our businesses to the point of actually being able to hire additional employees. The data shows that during the pandemic, Black women's businesses decreased by 41%. So when our businesses fail, it's not just our companies, because again, we're already serving communities. It's the entire community that loses access to goods and services that are greatly needed. So through this executive order, a couple of the recommendations that as a business owner I have that should be addressed are: one, an increase to direct access to capital for scaling, the technical assistance, and sustainability. Oftentimes in communities like Middle Georgia and in rural communities, the people that we have to engage to get access to resources are the same ones who are fighting to maintain the status quo. We need more transparency and accountability for regional economic centers across the state, and we need mandates for Black economic project assistance. We want to make sure that federal funds are appropriately distributed and overseen through an equity lens, and that there's a mechanism in place on the front end to track that data and the use of those funds. Also, because most federal funds or resources flow through the hands of those that seek to keep the status quo, they fail to reach the projects and the small businesses that are overseen and operated by Black business owners. As my friend Reverend Malone so eloquently expressed, all of those challenges represent a microcosm of the economic barriers for Black people in rural Georgia. So with this opportunity, we can be more innovative, and we can be innovative not only in starting our businesses, but in making sure that those businesses survive. Thank you for the opportunity today.
We thank you very much. And it's so good to see your face, put a face with the voice that I've been hearing.
Holding down Houston County.
And I want you to know that we will be making sure that we stay in contact with you so that we can address some of your issues.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is
Lawrence Bell.
he's He's gone, right? From
Okay, so,
Andrew Heaton.
Andrew Heaton is the State Outreach Director for Senator Warnock. Thank you, Andrew.
And we're so happy that Senator Warnock has sent his legislative aide to come and speak with us today. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate everything that Senator Warnock is doing for us. And please go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a report.
Well, I appreciate you all allowing me the chance to join you all, and I will try to keep it brief out of respect for everybody's time. But we've had just such amazing comments till now, and I've just this has been a learning experience for me, even being steeped in the American Rescue Plan with the Senator's office. So I appreciate you all allowing me just to jump on. I am Andrew Heaton. I'm the Outreach Director for Northwest Georgia, which encompasses pretty much everything north of Fayette County and everything west of Cherokee County.
My
so
district.
it includes the bulk of Metro Atlanta. Just to say briefly, again, appreciate the time. Chairwoman James, the overview you provided at the very top of this meeting of the American Rescue Plan was just such a comprehensive layout of what was provided. And, the Senator could not have been prouder to have supported the American Rescue Plan. Obviously, it would not have been possible if it was not for the voters of Georgia who showed up in January. So we obviously appreciate that, and the Senator appreciates that very much and continues to work every day. Obviously, the passage of the American Rescue Plan in the first 100 days of office is a high watermark in this early tenure for the Senator. And it adds to a growing list of proud work and accomplishments that our office has been able to provide for the citizens of Georgia and the United States. Work like providing economic relief for Black farmers, continued work on the voting rights bill that is being discussed in the Senate Rules Committee even as we speak, and we will continue to fight for Georgians every day. Obviously, the American Rescue Plan being the focus of this meeting, I think so much has already been said, but something that was mentioned earlier is just vital. The money's out there. The money is out there, and we've got to make sure we enable communities at all levels of the state, at the county, at the municipal, and the smaller townships. Everybody needs to know how they can work to access these funds to the betterment of their communities and the residents of their areas. One other thing I would just add on, in addition to the American Rescue Plan and the funds provided there, that the elected officials in the room might want to know about and just make sure that everybody is aware of, is that the Treasury Department is accepting requests for funds for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds fund. There are billions of dollars available for state, local, county, cities, and smaller townships at all levels through that Treasury Department Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. I will put a link to that in the chat so that anybody who wants to can see. You can see what the qualifications are, and you can see how to apply. That is yet another pot of money that has been made available to help our communities who are struggling. We talk a lot and we hear a lot in the media about how there's just been this economic boom and this amazing economic recovery. Yes, for a lot of our areas in the country, for many companies and corporations, they're doing great. But I think those of us in the room know that there are too many communities at all levels that are in fact still struggling and are still working to get past the damage that was done through this year of the pandemic. So, we want to make sure that everybody is accessing every bit of fund, every bit of relief that they can. So again, I will put the link to that in the chat. I will also put my email and my phone number in there so that anyone who has any questions directly for the Senator's office, please feel free to reach out. We work hard. We have outreach directors, mirroring myself in Northeast, Southwest, Southeast. We have representatives. We are on the road constantly doing what we can, but feel free to don't hesitate to reach out if you want to talk with us, speak with us, or just see us come to your area and to talk and see what's going on in your communities. We're desperate to know that. That's our best way to make sure the senator is aware so that he can fight for every level of community in Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll be back in touch with you and ask a few questions to see how we can continue to work together.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Joyce Dorsey, is she still on? Where?
Thanking everybody that has been
Go
on.
ahead.
Yeah, thanking everyone that has been on, that has participated. It has been most awesome to work with Senator James on this and then being connected. Come on, give it to her. Give it to her. Okay. Again, because she has answered the call. I actually worked for her when she first came in office years ago, and one thing I knew from being in her office,
you work.
Calls, yes, she works, have mercy. Calls, letters, cards, invitations, everything, all over the state. I'm like, do they know that you actually are just District 35? But no, what is clear, as Senator Harbison can share with you, is that because they are here, that everything that they put their voice or pen to is for this entire state. There are, of course, the local legislation, but let's be real clear. When it says state senator or state representative, they are a part of what happens in all 159 counties.
Thank you.
And let's be clear.
Do you know any of these people? There are still a few people who
on there, yeah.
who are on here. What about Joyce Rhodes? Did you want to make a comment? You were to give a testimony. Ms. Rhodes, Joyce Rhodes. Is she still on?
She's
Okay.
on. Can you hear that?
You have to unmute yourself. You want to come and look at this?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joyce Rhodes.
Hi.
I am a longtime resident of Fulton County, Georgia, with more than 50-year experience in economic development. Presently, I am the president of the Atlanta Chambers Foundation, and working with Michael Hill and Marquis on a daily basis, basically. But I wanted to, I appreciate the comments that Ms. Alice Bussey made about the whole sole proprietor, home-based businesses and other small businesses in our community, that PPP made it very challenging for them to apply for that. I personally myself provided technical assistance to several small businesses that had those kind of issues, and even with them requiring to submit a Schedule C. Well, most of them don't have Schedule Cs because they're doing a cash and carry type operation. Mm-hmm. They don't track their money like that. So one of the key points that she raised, which I think we really need to focus on as well, is putting a process in place that makes it easier for those small businesses. And that's a large percentage of Black-owned operated businesses that are in that category that did not have access, because they always throw in some caveat in there to deter us from wanting to apply for the money and thinking that we're not eligible, where we are eligible, but they put these things in place that they know in most cases we do not have those type of documents. So it's not just educating, but we have to begin to assist those businesses, which is one of the things that the chamber has done successfully with their members, is put a program in place to provide that TA and assist them with putting those documents together and the process that they need to go through. So therefore now they qualify because they got all the documentations that they need. So that's the only comment I wanted to make. And I appreciate all the comments that were made by everybody this morning, because I learned something from everybody. And I look forward to working with the group in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. I appreciate it, and thank you for being on with us this whole time. I see other people are on, but they are not going to make statements. But we want to invite all of the organizations and all of the governments to submit a one-page outlining what you want to do with the money, or what you need to do with the money, or what you expect that should be done with this funding. So this, I know it's a tall order, but we need to have this information in order to move forward. And are there any other people who are present that would like to say something?
Yes, Marquis
Oh,
Tate.
okay, Mr. Mark, oh, you want to
President
stand right here?
Oh. Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I wanted to request that there's another hearing in the very near future, in the next couple of weeks or 30 days or so, of a follow-up meeting on this matter. Is that possible?
We have to, yes, it's possible.
Okay.
Senator Harbison?
Yes.
Do you think it is possible for us to ask our clerk of the Senate, he's not the clerk, you know, David.
David Cook.
The Secretary of the Senate. We will ask him if we can bring another meeting together to follow up.
Okay.
And so that's what you're asking for,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
You're
Yes, I'm
requesting.
requesting that, making an
The
official
community
request.
is requesting that we have a second hearing to wrap up what we've brought up today, and also to update everyone on where the money that's already been distributed, where it has gone to, and what money is next. And I appreciate Reverend Warnock's, I'm saying Reverend, but Senator Reverend. He is a Reverend. He is my Reverend. Thank you very much. But I appreciate the link that's being put on the chat that will tell you how to apply, what the qualifications are. And so this is something that everybody needs to know. Most people did not even know, like you said, Commissioner, even about this money. I don't know how they couldn't know. They got the stimulus check and that was it, right? They didn't look beyond that. But the money is there, and believe me, this is not a giveaway. These are our tax dollars that are brought back into, it's never gonna be business as usual again since this coronavirus pandemic hit us. Nobody knew what to expect, and definitely I can attest to that, because who would think that I could catch something like that when 6 times during the first weeks of the session I was negative. Then all of a sudden, 2 days after the last time I took it, I'm positive. And then a week later, I was in the hospital and could not move. So believe me, it is changing lives. I feel blessed and lucky that I was able to fight it, defeat it, and to be back again and to work with all of you. But that's going to be my number one priority, making sure that we get our fair share of our tax dollars, and especially with this coronavirus money.
And Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
and if I may just reemphasize your comments, the gateway to that, I believe, is making sure that we not only disseminate information about the $562 million for emergency rental assistance, which everybody is concerned with, but at the same time, put the information out there, but also give them the key, that is, what agency do they access in order to facilitate that request or make it happen. A lot of times we say, well, where do I go? What do I do? How do I make this come to fruition? A lot of times I know there's money out there. I know somebody said I got $400 billion or something like that, but I don't know where to go and where to get it. And I think we need to make sure we cover that very adequately next time to make sure. The next thing, I think one of my colleagues mentioned that is we make sure, please make sure we got oversight, because there are people there that are already just going to be waiting for somebody to make a misstep, make an error. But I think we need to be undergirded with the integrity of making this happen for good people, put it in the needy places, the right places, and I think that will happen. I'm just excited about having help for people who need housing, people who still are still on the rope, so to speak, because they closed their businesses for so long. That's not just black community, white community, it's our community, it's our state. I mean, that was a great impact on this, and people didn't know where to do it, where to go. I think we need to be very, very clear about where to go and how to get the funding that you need. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's in doing that, so we got it covered, so that we can make sure the money goes where it is needed and not just to people who want to just utilize it. But I really want to make sure that, let's not forget Executive Order 1398, Reverend Malone, because I think that's going to be a great incentive for people to have that knowledge that it's there, it has the impact of law, and we can impact that to make the greatest impact on our people that we represent or that we serve, whether from the pulpit or from the speaker rostrum in the Senate chamber, in the House chamber, or wherever you serve. Just let's make it happen for our people, and I think we can have a great building process in Georgia that will stand for decades to come. We did it right on something that we didn't know anything about. It almost decimated our city and our town, but we're strong people, we're strong cities, we got strong elected officials. Let's make it happen, and I think we can overcome.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Yeah, Senator James, I just want to make sure that we don't forget, in order to make sure that we get it to the communities that need it most, we have to be diversified in the distribution of funds. That has always been the bottleneck in the community. And I want us to follow the spirit of what the Northeast Georgia group did, Ovita Thornton, Shane Blackwell, and others, is that they were innovative. They had the political will to make sure that different groups who were doing the work, the grassroots work, got those dollars. And now those organizations are in a position, because they now have the capacity to have the relationships with the cities, the municipalities, and the federal government. So I want us to think about, in that 30-day cycle, what groups can we support and provide what Joyce talked about, technical assistance to help them be the distributors of these dollars, because it can be our organizations and it can be the traditional nonprofits that always distribute the monies. I think it's time for us to stop being sharecropped by other groups and begin making sure that we are the prime contractors. We are the distributors of the funds, because we best know how and what our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to now adjourn the hearing portion of the Interstate Corporation Committee. And we have a hashtag, #4Georgia, spelled out. And did you want to say some closing? I'm getting notes, so instead of me getting notes.
This is Sharon J. Hill, and I, again, just want to thank everybody. Of course, the Committee on Interstate Cooperation, Senator James expressed exactly what that is and exactly what it is supposed to do. And we are standing here right now making sure that everyone understands that this is what must be done. So yes, hashtag ask for the number 4 Georgia. Ask for Georgia, and guess what? We need to break it down. Ask for, do the hashtag, ask for what's your city, what's your county. Add that to that. Let's get that going so that when we're on the accountability tour, you are standing up there and asking, and that's what your signs need to be saying, okay? And under it, what do you want? Remember, what is the vision for where you are? Thank you so very much.
We now understand with all the participation that Georgia is the epicenter for progress if we all get involved. The Committee on Interstate Cooperation is about public information, education, and it's statewide information that we need from you. All the presentations must be on file in the office. We're going to disseminate a resource guide. There'll be an accountability tour. There'll be report outs. So the Committee on Interstate Cooperation is your vehicle. We are your body, and you've heard from the brilliant legislation, you've heard from the intention, even from the governor's office selecting Senator James, and we're ready to go to create Georgia as an epicenter for progress so we can model that interstate across the country.
Amen. We thank you, and I want to thank our staff for being here, and Diego Santana. This is our media, our legislative council, our research department. We thank you for being here and providing us this information, but it's not over. We're going to be on you again, because I don't know if we actually need legislation to move this forward, but we were talking about possible legislation, and Senator Emmanuel Jones, who had a dental appointment, but he was on Zoom for a minute with us, was one that said that he had some ideas about what we could do to move us forward legislatively. So I don't know if we have to wait all the way to next January. We go into a special session later in November? Possibly November for reapportionment, but we'll be in session. So we hope that if some emergency has come up, especially with the American Rescue Act plan, that we will be able to at least address it somehow. We will try to do that. And we need your help. You sent us here, and we're here to serve you, but we also need your support and your help. So again, thank you. Thank you. It is officially adjourned. Thank you.